What happens when trust becomes harder to build every year, while the systems shaping how we see each other are becoming more impossible to escape from? And yeah, that question sounds a little strange, so we'll come back to that. But dating doesn't feel broken because people suddenly forget how to treat each other. It feels broken because the environment we're all moving through quietly changed. And what's scary is that for most of us, we don't even notice it happening. About 3 months ago, and yeah, I'm going off topic here, I reconnected with someone I used to know. And if you recently dated, you know that alone that feeling feels like a small win. But we started to go on dates, nothing too crazy, just talking, sometimes getting coffee, and mainly spending time together. After a while, I noticed something I haven't felt in a long time. I stopped bracing for the other shoe to drop. Felt real again, comfortable and unforced. I felt like I was allowed to be open with this person. About a month in, however, we had our first real disagreement. It wasn't very dramatic, no yelling, just one of those normal moments where two people aren't fully aligned yet. But in the middle of our discussion, she said something that completely shell shocked me. She said, I'm gonna try to use my best girl voice here.
I should be treated like a queen.
And right now,
I feel like
you're
treating
treating
me like a...
jester.
And I remember having two opposing thoughts at the same time here. First, what the did this woman just say to me? But the second one was a lot more quieter and more interesting because while her point wasn't not unfair, it felt very familiar. What she said wasn't just a feeling, that was a popular internet meme, a prepackaged narrative that the algorithm fed her for moments like that. And that moment stuck with me not because the argument mattered, but because it showed how the internet doesn't just change what we believe, it also changes how we interpret others. If there's one thing I've learned from being online and making these videos, and trust me, when writing this script, I really felt like this, it's that the algorithm always prioritizes efficiency. Not efficiency in truth, but efficiency in attention. It's designed to deliver ideas in the fastest, simplest, most emotionally effective way possible. And on paper, that sounds like a harmless idea, but when ideas are compressed enough, repeated enough, and consumed long enough, they stop informing people and start shaping them. That's how radicalization actually works. Not through one extreme video, but through thousands of efficient ones. A few years ago, especially around the 2020 era, I'm sure you guys remember traditional media talking a lot about the manosphere and the radicalization of young men. I believe what we're seeing now is an evolution of this radicalization on a grander scale. And a place where you could see this the most on the internet is in the sphere of politics. Because no matter what side of the debate you choose to stand under, you could see men, women, and older people all be radicalized by the content they consume. And granted, the algorithm is a perfect breeding ground for political discussions to thrive in because people need to see the news at the end of the day. These spheres, and by extension the internet itself, is exactly how trust erodes, not through betrayal, but through consistent conditioning. Coming into the last month of this relationship, we weren't officially together, but we were clearly moving in that direction. And as a result, we spent a lot of time together. And I can't lie to you guys, I liked that. I also noticed I was spending a lot of money almost every day on her. And I remember thinking, is this the kind of commitment that feels right? But it felt intentional, like we were choosing each other, so at the end of it all, it felt pretty good to do those kind of things. Over time, though, I started noticing a pattern, that the fun always revolved around spending money. And whenever I wanted something simpler, a more quiet night where we could just Netflix and chill, no plans or pressure, the kind of things you do with the boys from time to time when you decide to play Minecraft, I guess. But those moments really became a problem for her. Like, we would have complete blowouts and just gaslighting sessions over the smallest things. And during those small arguments, I was just left wondering, did I do something wrong? This relationship felt like I was playing a role I didn't remember agreeing to. And again, the language in those moments felt very familiar. They were oversimplified, absolute, like as if I was Anakin Skywalker, or I guess Obi-Wan, telling Anakin Skywalker about the powers of absolute, in Revenge of the Sith. Needless to say, I could tell right away these moments were just pulled from the internet. And it's not the fact that we had arguments that made me feel upset, but it's her constant usage of these frameworks and narratives. And in those moments, I felt less like someone in a relationship and more like someone being argued at. To be clear, that relationship became unhealthy and I left. But what stayed with me wasn't the breakup, it was the after effect. Because slowly I started to notice something very uncomfortable. I was becoming more guarded, more suspicious, and less willing to trust. And I remember thinking, this isn't who I was. And then it all clicked. The same environment that shaped how she interpreted me was now shaping how I interpreted people. That's the real danger of the digital environment. The algorithm doesn't care who's right or wrong, it doesn't care about relationships, it just spreads. And if you live inside it long enough, it will spread to you. And before I give any kind of answer, I want to be clear about something. I'm not above this. I'm still actively trying to fix this within myself. And to be honest with you, it's been incredibly difficult. So the solution I'm about to propose might be completely speculative and might only work for me, but let's get back to the question from the beginning. What happens when trust becomes harder to build every year, while the systems shaping how we see each other are impossible to escape? What happens is this. If you let the digital environment shape how you feel and what to think, long enough, it will shape you in a direction whether you want it or not. And when that happens, your reactions stop feeling like choices. They start to feel automatic. So when people start talking about ways to fix this problem, I don't think it starts with discipline. I think it starts with something simpler. And I wouldn't want to be like one of those guru activists who would just say meditate for hours to fix this. At the end of their video, they just give like the most basic, obvious response. To be honest with you, that meditation and all that kind of scares me. I used to be able to meditate pretty well, but as I grew older, I'm starting to realize that it gets harder and harder to do so. Anyway, I think it all starts with awareness. Because awareness, even as basic as it is to say that word, is enough to interrupt a pattern. And interruption is how actual change begins. So here's what I want you to try. For 1 week, give yourself a single rule. Every time you watch something online, especially those short form content, ask yourself one question when it ends. What emotion did that make me feel? Don't ask yourself, what did I learn? Not what I agree, just what did I feel? Shorts are perfect for this because they're designed to trigger one clean emotional response. If you get good at this, you'll start noticing that you're able to ask yourself other questions like, do I actually want to feel like this right now? And that's as far as I've gotten. Personally, this has been pretty tough for me, but it's been the first thing that helped me step out of that guarded, reactive mindset. Not overnight, just slowly. And for me, I feel like I am stepping away from that lack of trust feeling that this relationship gave me. Anyway, guys, I'm out of time for today. This dog needs food. So thanks for spending your time here and take care.